man. Feels good to be back behind the mic. That's what I feel like right now, man. We got football tomorrow. It's going to be trash as hell, but it's more about what it signifies than the actual game that's being played itself. And that right there has your man Louie T amped. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 185th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. As you can see, I am clearly amped and ready to go. Football is here, and tomorrow's Hall of Fame game signifies the start of something that I cherish more so than ever before because of what happened last year and the threat of it being gone. I now cherish football in a way that I didn't think was possible. And I've already told you, football is like that drug that I can't get enough of. I got it coursing through my veins and I'm always chasing that high. And so for me, football is really my drug of choice. And I've told you guys that already. And it's almost time for me to inject it into my bloodstream once again. And once I get this first dose, which I will get tomorrow, I don't have to worry about going without a dose for the next 6 months. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Every single week, we will have professional tackle football for our consumption, barring some kind of catastrophe. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But if they could get it off last year and get all 256 done last year, I assume they're going to at least come close to that this year. Now, it's a little different. The world's a lot more open than it was this time last year. So not as many obstacles in front of these players and these coaches and everyone that wants to get out and enjoy all that life has to offer. However, almost 90% of the league is vaccinated. I think we're going to see football every single week from tomorrow's night game on. And that has me really excited. Hopefully, last weekend was great for you. I enjoyed it. I got some stories to tell. I'll tell you guys one story real quick. So, we drove to Florida. I drove. We drove in 4 different vehicles. I was manning up one of those vehicles. I had a 20 passenger, I think, van that I was driving. I don't remember how many people it seats. 2 in the front, 3 behind us, another 3. So about 15 passengers you could seat in the van that I had. And I drove it 12 hours to Florida. It was roughly about 13, 14 hours. But we get there, and we have to go straight to the park because the place that we're staying, we weren't allowed to check in until 4. Well, we got there at like 10:30 in the morning. So we needed to burn, those extra 6 hours. So what we decided to do was we had passes to go to the Disney park, one of the Disney parks. I think we went to Epcot the first day, which is trash. But if we were going to burn a day doing nothing, trying to kill time, Epcot Center was the one to do it at. So we go straight there, and we get about 3 hours in, and it's supposed to rain. And boy, did it ever. And so we were there with a guy that's from Florida. He was the one that got us the tickets, and he told us, oh, it's Florida. Don't worry about it. It'll rain for like 20, 30 minutes. It'll blow over. Sun will come out, It'll dry up all the rain and you'll forget it even rained. We're like, oh, okay, cool. So, we run inside of this little establishment. First of all, I didn't even want to go in because, if anybody knows, Florida is one of two places that are like the capital of COVID right now. And I told you, Florida and Texas are like two different countries. They shouldn't even be part of the U.S., but that's another discussion for another day. They march to the beat of their own drum, and we already know that. We knew what we were going to. We were going into the mouth of the COVID monster. So we were already on high alert. So I didn't even want to go into the establishment that everyone ran into because it was raining and everyone was ducking and seeking cover. But it was either go in there or get plastered with the rain. And in hindsight, I should have just got plastered with the rain. But we'll get to that part of the story. So we go inside of this building, and it's really like a souvenir shop. And everyone's coming in. And so me and my fiance, we park it right in the front. And we let everybody else go deep into the store, stand by each other, breathe all over each other. And I'm paranoid as hell. I'm like, I really don't want to be in here. And I'm starting to get antsy, and I can tell she's getting antsy. And first of all, she didn't like being around a whole bunch of people any damn way. So she was already getting antsy. So as people continued to come in and pour in droves, we made a business decision. We need to make a run for it. To the car, and obviously this isn't like you going to Walmart or Target, or some grocery store where I can just say, hey, you guys hang tight, I'm gonna run to the car, bring it around front, and you guys get in. You gotta run all the way to the front of the theme park, which we're not close to. You then gotta get all the way out of the checkout portion of the park, which you gotta check in, you gotta check out. So you got to go all the way out through the checkout. Then you got to get all the way to your car, which is located all the way in the back of the parking lot. And it's a massive parking lot, as you could imagine. So we stand in that building for about 45 minutes, and we realize this rain isn't going away. This is not what he told us. He told us 30 minutes, it'd blow over, sun would come out, we'd forget it rained. That's not what happened. So we're standing in there for 45 minutes, and finally we all kind of made an executive decision. We can't stay here. This isn't getting any better, and it's too many people now. It's getting out of control. I'm not comfortable, and I don't feel safe being in this establishment. So we all bought ponchos and umbrellas and whatever we thought was going to help us get to the car in the driest manner. I had the genius idea that I was going to buy 2 umbrellas, one for me, one for my fiance and my son, and we were going to use those umbrellas to get us to the car. Well, that was an epic fail. Everybody else was buying ponchos. I decided I wanted to be the smart guy and buy 2 umbrellas. So I buy the 2 umbrellas, we get outside, and it seems like Mother Nature decided to wait until we wanted to make a run for it to decide to bring the heaviest downpour of rain of the day and, in combination, the most swift and howling winds of the afternoon. So as we're running out, my umbrella is immediately taken from my hands. Give me that shit. You don't know what to do with that umbrella. Give it to me. So it's snatched out of my hands. As I go to reach for it, it blows away. All of this is in midair. It's like it comes out of my hand. I got a chance to grab it, and then it takes off. And it goes behind me. And it's this whole family, including this little kid, can't be any more than 3 years old. They're walking with their head down. They all got ponchos on. They got their head down so they don't get wet. And someone screams from off on the side, "Look out!" Here comes my umbrella for the 3-year-old, heading straight towards him. He looks up, and kapow! My umbrella smacks him right in the face. All I could do was turn, give him a Jordan shrug, and take off. At this point, I've got on slides, mind you. I didn't expect rain. Not this kind of rain, at least. I got on slides, so my feet are sliding all over the place. I'm trying to keep my stride going, but my slides are trying to take me out simultaneously. Mind you, I'm running in 1.5 inches of water because there are just pockets of water everywhere. I don't have an umbrella. I didn't buy a poncho, so I am getting soaked. We finally get to a place of shelter because we had to turn something that we rented back in. And I told them, you guys stay here. I don't want you guys getting sick. You guys stay under this canopy. I'll be right back. I'm going to make a run for it. I'm going to go get the car. I'm the man. I'll go get the car. I'll sacrifice. You stay here. I'll come back and get you guys. So I take off. And I'm running. I got my Forrest Gump going, man. I am just going. And I am getting drenched. So much so that I can't even see straight. I got water. I'm wiping. I'm running. I'm wiping. I'm running. I'm wiping. I'm running. And it seems like I'm not getting any closer to the damn van. Okay? I am wiping and I am running. Finally, I get to the row where the van is located. And I get in. I was so wet. I don't know if I've been this wet before in my life with clothes on. It was the craziest thing. I go to pick everyone up. We get our signals crossed up. My dad's waving his arms like crazy. Boss is like, hey, we're over here. So I pull up that way. I get there. There's nobody there. I get a FaceTime. I get a Google Duo from my daughter, and she's like, hey, we're down here. I'm like, that's not the plan. You guys were supposed to be over here. So now I got to drive all the way over there. My mom, my dad, my daughter, all the kids, all the people that were with me in the van, they all get in, and they're all soaked. Now, they're not as soaked as me because they were smart. They bought ponchos, and those ponchos were trash. But it kept them a lot more dry than I. Needless to say, the van smelled like wet dog, and people were pouring gallons of water out of their shoe. We didn't bring towels because we didn't expect to get wet. All we had was one sheet that someone was using to keep themselves warm in the van as we were driving down, and everyone had to wipe off with the same sheet. Luckily, I got first dibs on the sheet because I got to the van first. Man, did that sheet stink. And I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't get a chance to use my Manscaped products. I took off my underwear when I went to take a bath when we got home because I was getting out of those wet clothes immediately. Not immediately, immediately. Boy, did those pants stink. Smelled like straight raw onions. Or as Billy, what's my guy's name? Who likes to say, with the kiss. Oh, I can't think of his name. But he says, oh, the onions. Yeah, smelled like somebody just sliced and diced some fresh onions. Whew. They were wicked. But we got through it. It's one of those situations that when it's happening to you, it's not funny. It is not funny. But when you look back on it, it is hilarious. And we sat home. We got home. We sat down. We talked about it. And, man, we shared a laugh. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to some football, man. I'm excited. I got a super chat here from my guy, the Black L.B. I'm going to take this, and then we're going to jump into our Gem Droppin Session for the day. My guy, the Black L.B. says, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Black L.B. My guy, Black L.B. writes, what it do, Lou? Hope the vacay went cool. Off topic of football here, but please tell me you caught the D-Block massacre of Dipset last night, LOL. No, I did not, but I heard about it. I heard it was ugly. I heard it was a bloodbath. And you know what? Fully expected it. And it's not for all the reasons that apparently transpired and took place, which was, the Dipset guys looked out of shape and old, and the D-Block guys were ready for war. I just thought the catalogs weren't even comparable. And I grew up on Dipset. I told you guys, we were bumping Dipset. That Diplomatic Immunity, Volume 1 and 2, Red and Blue, they were going nonstop in the whip. But D-Block's catalog, Jadakiss could have killed them by himself. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying to you. He didn't even need Sheik and Styles P to do these boys by himself. Jada's catalog alone is enough to give them the mwah, kiss of death. So, it's what I expected, not for all the reasons that actually took place, but just off the strength of the music. It's the same way I felt about SWV and Escape. Like, if we're going toe-to-toe, blow for blow, like, Escape is cool. My sister's favorite R&B group is Escape. And I was like, hey, that's awesome. But they can't hold a candle to SWV. If we're going through the entire catalog and we're going blow for blow, we're going to drop those boys off, or in that case, those girls off. We're going to drop those women off somewhere around the corner, and we're going to keep it pushing. Same thing with D-Block and Dipset. Like, they just didn't have enough. So, anyway, I digress. At least Cam held it down, I heard. I mean, he's the leader of the group. At least he held it down. But all them other boys, they got problems. They got issues. So, I digress. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Black LB. Let's get to some football. I know some of y'all out there like, all right, man, what the hell y'all talking about? Get to some football. All right, we about to do that right now. You know what? Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, I was on vacation and I couldn't help but notice the Indianapolis Colts ran into the IR, man. Had a really rough run-in with the IR. Now, the IR did display a bit of mercy on them that he usually does not. But I didn't want to get too close because I don't want the smoke. But I did have to ask the IR, I'm like, yo, what's good? Like, what beef do you have with the Indianapolis Colts? And he's like, this ain't got nothing to do with any of the guys that I had to reach out and touch. This is all about Jim Irsay. I said, okay, enough said. You don't have to say nothing else to me. I got you. I got it. He's like, yeah, he's got to say, you ain't got to say no more. I know it's a lot of skeletons and demons in that closet. Enough said. I said, but Carson Wentz though? He's like, yeah. I said, he said, you really don't want to go down that road with me because I got a lot more that I can pull out. I was like, yeah, you're right. So Carson Wentz got reached out and touched by the IR. I've told you guys numerous times, protect your stuff. Obviously, the Indianapolis Colts did not take that to heart. Carson Wentz suffered a foot injury that required surgery. He tried to go the rest and relaxation route, rest and recovery, and quickly realized I'm delaying the inevitable. I need surgery. If I try to wait, it's going to take even longer, and then I'm really going to miss some significant time. Let's just have the surgery now. I may not be back for week 1. They're aiming for week 1, but he's probably more likely than not going to start the season on the PUP list. And he'll probably be back somewhere around week 3, I would guess, 3 or 4. Anyway, it wasn't bad enough that the guy that they traded for that's going to give them a chance to make the postseason, because if there's no Carson Wentz, they're back to where they were the year they didn't have Andrew Luck. Or we could take it a step further and go back even further and say they're back to where they were the season they didn't have Peyton Manning that year with Curtis Painter and all those bums that were out there at quarterback. When they realized, damn, we didn't have shit behind Peyton all these years. I would assume that if this were a significant season-ending injury, they would trade for someone. I don't know if they need to do that right now. You know, that was the conversation that was really prevalent over the last 4 or 5 days. Like, should Indianapolis trade for Nicholas Foles? He's sitting on the Chicago Bears bench rotting away right now. He's third on the depth chart in Chicago. They drafted a rookie quarterback. They signed Andy Dalton. There's no way he's seen the field this year. That's interesting. But in my mind, I said, Indianapolis, come into Louie T's office, close the door, have a seat. Let me tell you where the Philadelphia Eagles effed up. The minute Carson Wentz felt threatened by Nicholas Foles, they should have bailed if they thought he was the guy. The minute that he won the Super Bowl, that situation was no longer comfortable for Carson Wentz. Now he was essentially trying to live up to a guy that was going to be forever immortalized in Philadelphia Eagles lore. The Philly special. In that Super Bowl run, outdueling Tom Brady, bringing the Eagles their very first NFL Super Bowl championship. I'm not going to say NFL championship because then they'll start talking about the 1960s and Chuck Bednarik and all. Nobody cares about that. You haven't won a Super Bowl. Well, they did in 2017, and it was in large part to Nicholas Foles. Now, Carson Wentz will tell you, you don't get there without me, but it's hard for people to hear that because you didn't get anything done when it mattered most, which is the postseason. That was all Nicholas Foles. Kind of hard to reconcile that in your brain if you're Carson Wentz. That they would prefer the other guy over me, and I'm supposed to be the franchise guy. Did something to that guy's psyche. And you can't tell me that it didn't because last year, he was terrible. Now, you could say Nicholas Foles wasn't even there last year. What are you talking about? The year after they won the Super Bowl, he was incredible. All true, all facts. But he was never the same. He was never the same. It did something to him. It changed him. Just the mere presence of Nicholas Foles on the team was enough to really shake Carson Wentz to the core. I don't think bringing that guy back on board, even though it's a different locale and the Colts fan base doesn't have the same nostalgia and same feelings of warm and fuzzies for Nicholas Foles, I can tell you this, Carson Wentz probably still has that same level of discontentment for Nicholas Foles. Even though he probably likes him as a dude, there's still that looking over your shoulder that you don't want. You just traded for this guy. You think you can be the franchise guy. You don't need to do that. That'd be the worst thing you could possibly do if you're Indianapolis. Trade for anybody you want. Don't trade for Nicholas Foles. That said, I don't think they need to trade for anyone right now. Now, I can say this. Carson Wentz's career has been marred by injuries. This is not the first injury, and I don't think it'll be the last. This could be foreshadowing of what's to come. Indianapolis may need to prepare themselves. They did draft Jacob Eason last year. They did draft Sam Ehlinger this year. Maybe they're prepared. Maybe they're not. Okay? Only time will tell. However, a lot of conversation about them trading for a quarterback. Washington fans start saying, hey, we got 3 able-bodied quarterbacks over here. You should take one of them off our hands. Here's Kyle Allen. Nobody wants Kyle Allen. Relax. Pipe down. Nobody's beating down our door to get Taylor Heineke. The Colts view themselves as a Super Bowl contending team. You think a guy with one career start under his belt, a guy that has barely finished a game in Taylor Heineke, or Kyle Allen who doesn't even have a full 16-piece under his belt, you think that's appealing to the Indianapolis Colts right now? No. So stop. It's a really tough situation to be in if you're Indy. You got all these hopes. You had old man Philly Rivers take you to the playoffs last year and almost win you a game on the road against the Buffalo Bills. And now you think Wentz is just going to pick up where he left off and you're going to go even further. And now he's hurt. Now, he'll be back. But what Carson Wentz are you getting? He's missing valuable camp time to put in work with these guys, get on the same page, and build that rapport with these receivers. He knows the offense. That's not something that they're really probably worried about. It's like, he knows the offense. It's the same one he dealt with in Philadelphia, for the most part. Yeah, there may be a couple of different wrinkles here and there, but I'm pretty sure he's comfortable with everything. But it's just the rapport that you build with those players. Getting on the same page, getting that timing down, knowing the body language of your receiver and what he's going to do so you know where to put the football. Those are the things he's going to miss, not getting this camp in preseason time. But if that wasn't enough, look, if you take a team's quarterback, their season's done for the most part. There aren't many teams in this league that can go to their backup and still feel like we got a shot. You take a team's starting quarterback, they're dead. Dead, I tell you. But the IR decided that wasn't enough. I'm going to take the best player on your team. Offensive guard Quentin Nelson. No, let me put some respect on that man's title. All-Pro offensive guard Quentin Nelson. I'm going to give you the same, and this is crazy. Crazy. I'm going to give you the same exact injury I just reached out and touched Carson with. Where they do that at? The same exact thing, 5 to 12 weeks, same exact foot injury? Is there something wrong with the practice field? Whatever the case may be, in one fell swoop, the Indianapolis Colts go from dominant offensive line with a running back going into his second year and a guy coming back off of an injury that they think can tear it up in this real awesome conglomerate of backs, dominant line, and a quarterback that they're really confident in to, hey, we might have to start Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger. Maybe they trade for somebody. I think it's highly unlikely at this point. And I don't know if you've seen their schedule, but it's not the type of schedule that you're okay with starting off the season with Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger with. Like last year, the Colts had a schedule where you was like, damn, if I had some issues, these are the types of teams I'd like to work it out against. Like they started off the season against Jacksonville on the road. They ended up losing that game, if you recall. Jacksonville didn't win very many games last year. They surprised everybody. We were like, man, Jacksonville might go, 1-15. They could even go 0-16. A lot of people were talking crazy. I knew they weren't going to go 0-16. We won week 1. Everybody's like, well, shit, maybe Jacksonville's better than we thought. Nope, they're not. But it was the type of schedule that gave you a chance to iron out some kinks and figure some things out. And they did. That's not what this schedule is about. They got playoff teams. They got teams that don't give a damn about your plight. They're looking to get right. It could get ugly for them real quick. And here's the crazy part. This is so multi-layered, this situation, because this doesn't just impact the Indianapolis Colts. This also impacts indirectly the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, they made this trade thinking, hey, we're going to get a first-round pick for Carson Wentz. Hell yes! We did it. We got his ass out of here, and we got a first pick, too. First-round pick. Well, there were some stipulations. It's actually a second-round conditional pick. Those conditions clearly state that Wentz must play 75% of the Colts' offensive snaps in the upcoming season, or 70% of the offensive snaps on a Colts team that makes the postseason. Well, this doesn't help them. Now, it's not like every game has X amount of snaps, and once you miss a certain amount of games, you've missed that threshold. The Colts could be anemic on offense in the first 3 weeks without Wentz, and they could be a 3-and-out fest of a ball club, and they could only have 33 offensive snaps on average in the first 3 weeks. Well, that's not really going to kill their offensive snaps average. And if he comes back, plays the rest of the games, he'll far exceed 75%, even if they don't make the postseason. Or 70 if they do. But if they get in some shootouts without him and they're putting up 80 plays, on average 77 plays, which is a ton in the NFL, then yeah, they could be in some trouble, especially if he misses another game or two throughout the course of the season, which we know Wentz is not opposed to, tweaking an elbow or a knee or a back or a concussion and missing a couple of weeks throughout the course of a season. So now this puts the Eagles in a very unenviable position of, hey man, that second round compensatory pick, or second round conditional pick may actually just be a second round pick. And the reason that is important is because if Jalen Hurts stinks, which I think he's going to, but we'll see. It sure would be nice to have that extra first round pick as ammunition to go and get my guy if I feel like I need to go and get my guy. So this thing has some lingering effects potentially for not just the Indianapolis Colts in their upcoming season, but it could also impact the Eagles and their future moving forward as well. So the Colts had quite the run-in with the IR. He did show a little bit of mercy, which is not really his thing. Somewhat uncommon for him. So they should feel fortunate. They should feel really fortunate. Because it could have been a lot worse. Wentz could have been done for the year. Quentin Nelson could have been done for the year. And all of a sudden, the strongest part of your team, your offensive line, could have been without their strongest part. And your quarterback position, which you were really hyped about, could have taken a massive blow, and you would have been on those streets looking for someone's backup. Probably Nicholas Foles, more likely than not. Comfortable with the system, knows Frank Wright. And he was politicking, was Nicholas. Yeah, he was over there politicking. He said, hey, I love Frank Wright. He's the best coach I've had in this league. He's my favorite. He's trying to do everything he can to get the hell out of Chicago because there's no light at the end of that tunnel. And he recognizes that. He'd love to get to Indy. I don't think they're pulling the trigger, though. And if I were Chris Ballard, I wouldn't be hasty to pull the trigger either. Let's see what Jacob Eason has. Let's see if Sam Ehlinger is ready to step in. Let's see what we got. So, because more likely than not, even when Wentz gets back, one of those two guys, more likely than not Jacob Eason, he's going to have to play. This probably won't be the last time Carson Wentz is on the sidelines with no helmet and a headset. This probably won't be the last time he'll be doing that. So, I'm not saying. I'm just saying, stay tuned to that situation. And most importantly, if you took nothing else from that entire Gem Droppin Session, let me drop this gem on your melon. Protect your stuff. The injury reaper is out to task. Whether you have a mask or not, he's ready to come blaze your ass. Be safe. Don't be sorry. Protect your stuff. So, that's going to do it for the Gem Droppin Session. We're going to take a quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back on the other side and jump into In Case You Missed It. A lot of stuff we missed in that brief period of time we were not together. So we will catch up on all of those things and then some. You are tuned in to the 185th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I thank you guys for joining me. Check out this word from one of our sponsors, and I'll see you on the other side. I want to take this time to thank Manscaped for sponsoring the Louie T Network podcast. Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston, do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you've got zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than a Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that is just taken off not only in the US, but Canada, the UK, and across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their 4.0 lawnmower trimmer, weed whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 lawnmower trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on your journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. You see what we did there? This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on and off switch which can engage a travel lock and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Pause. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets on their A game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT at manscaped.com. For a clean Trinity and beyond, your space balls will thank you. Welcome back to the 185th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Please do me a huge solid if you haven't already done so. Hit that subscribe button for more great content. Turn on your notification bell. If you don't want to miss any content, that's going to be your best friend. And also hit the like button, as that helps not only this video but this channel grow exponentially. So we're going to jump into In Case You Missed It. I mean, we did miss quite a bit, and I won't get to all of it because there is a lot, but I want to go over some of the things that struck me as odd and really fun topics while I was on break. And I saw everything. I was still on my phone checking things when I had a chance. And so let's get to a lot of the things that have jumped out at me, if you will. Bucs defensive coordinator Todd Bowles gets a new 3-year extension, making him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the National Football League. Good for Todd Bowles. I told you he's one of my guys. I wanted him as the Washington football team head coach. When we had a vacancy, they were looking to hire him as a D coordinator. He was not interested. I wanted him to get the job. I wanted them to get rid of Jay Gruden and hire Todd Bowles. I thought he got a raw deal in New York with the Jets. Quarterback situation was never really stable while he was there. And I think he's going to get another opportunity to be a head coach. This extension does not prohibit him from getting a head coaching job. It just makes his situation in Tampa more stable and harder for him to leave. You're going to have to entice him to leave, obviously, with a head coaching job. But not only is it going to have to be a head coaching job, it's going to have to be a good head coaching job. It can't just be any head coaching job. If I were him, I'd stay in Tampa because I think this is really the next job for him. I see him being the successor to Uncle Bruce when he decides to hang it up. I think he's the next guy in line to become the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm not reading the tea leaves correctly, but I thought that Uncle Bruce would be on his way out already. I didn't think his health would allow him to stick around as long as he's done so far. But what are we in year 3 of Bruce? I think this is year 3, might be year 2, going into year 3. We might be going into year 4 of Uncle Bruce in Tampa. I believe we are. I think he only got 1 year Jameis, though. And if that is, in fact, the case, then this is year 3 we're going into. Whatever the case may be. I said you'll get 3 good years out of Uncle Bruce, and that's it. I think we're either going into year 3. I really think we're going into year 4, but I could be wrong about that. Either way, Bowles getting the extension makes a ton of sense. He's diabolical. We saw what he did to Mahomes. We saw what he did to Aaron Rodgers. We saw what he did. He essentially retired Drew Brees. We saw what he did throughout that playoff run. This defense was outstanding. And I can't think of a better guy to be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league than Todd Bowles. So good for him. And his profile just continues to grow. I can't envision him not getting another opportunity to be a head coach in this league at some point. In case you missed it, Joe Burrow having a rough start to training camp. You know what? While it is a story, it's not that big of a story as some people are making it out to be. Now, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you probably are saying to me, that's easy for you to say. He's not your franchise quarterback. Touche. But what I will say is this isn't uncommon when a quarterback comes back from a major knee injury. He's first, before he can even get back into the swing of things and pick up right where he left off, he's first got to get over the mental hurdle of people being around him, trash and traffic around his legs. In his mind, he's still thinking about the injury that put him on the shelf. So he isn't going to be comfortable until he gets into those settings, until he gets hit, until somebody falls on his leg and he gets up and he realizes, I'm okay. That's not going to happen in practice. You know why? Because he's not allowed to be hit. More than likely, and I don't know what colors they wear at Cincinnati Bengals training camp, but my guess is the defense is probably wearing black, the offense is wearing white, and Joe Burrow's wearing an orange jersey, and no one's able to touch him. So he's not getting hit, but in his mind, they're still protecting him. There's still traffic around him. He's still got to reconcile inside his brain that no one's going to fall and hurt me again. And until he does that, it's going to be tough for him. Brady had to do it. Carson Palmer had to do it when he came back from a major injury. When somebody falls into your leg and ends your season, it's a mental block. It's a mental hurdle that you have to clear. So I'm not surprised that he's struggling right now. He'll get better. But he's first got to get back to a place in his mind where he can just relax and play football, and that's going to take a little while. So the reports of him struggling in camp are not surprising. Not one bit. It's easy when you're throwing against air and there's nobody around you to look good, which he was doing all offseason when he was showing everybody, I'll be ready for week 1. It's totally different when you start putting players around him and they're pass protecting and defenders are coming at him. They can't touch him, but it's still really tough because in your mind, it's playing tricks on you and telling you, hey, watch out. He's lifting his leg up. When he sees guys around him, there's no one there. He's lifting his leg up because he's paranoid right now. So they've got some things that they've got to clean up. He's got some things mentally he's got to clean up. I got my money on Joe Burrow. I'm just going to say this. I got my money on Joe Burrow. Period. End of discussion. In case you missed it, the New York Football Giants, the G-Men, had a brawl at practice yesterday. Quite funny, actually. Now, there was no footage of this, and, you know, that's actually surprising given the day and age that we live in, and there's footage of everything. Shocking that there's no footage of this, but that's fine. I actually enjoy that there is no footage and that an urban legend can begin to grow about this situation. Joe Judge then goes postal after the brawl takes place, and he had every right to. His quarterback was at the bottom of this brouhaha, of this scrum. You know, Daniel Jones is somewhere at the bottom like, I can't breathe. You guys get off of me. One of my favorite cartoons is Heathcliff. A lot of you probably don't even know what the hell Heathcliff is. Heathcliff, Heathcliff, no one should terrorize the neighborhood. I could go the whole song on y'all, but I'm not going to. In that show, when Heathcliff, who was a badass, would get in a fight, you would never see Heathcliff kicking ass. You'd just see this cloud, and then Heathcliff would come out of the cloud, and somebody's ass just got beat. That's kind of like the Giants scrum yesterday at training camp. But the only difference is head coach Joe Judge went in, he came out of the cloud, and everybody else had to pay. So he starts barking out orders. Guys, I ain't never seen this shit. Coaches were running laps. Grown ass men, take your ass and run a lap with the players. 65-year-old coach, go run some laps. That's bullshit, honestly. If I were one of his coaches, I'd be pissed off. Yeah, my players were out of pocket, but I didn't tell them to go get in a fight. I'm not running no damn laps. You crazy? You think I'm running a lap with my players? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. I told y'all that I loved Joe Judge. I loved his enthusiasm. I loved his zest for the coaching position. I loved the guys that were his mentors in Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I loved everything about his message. I said, this guy gets it. And you saw that last year with this Giants team that didn't quit. They had every reason to quit except for the division, and they didn't. They had a chance to win this division, and they just fell short, despite shortcomings. I said, this guy gets it. But I'm going to tell you something about this damn Joe Judge. Even though I do like him as a coach, there's something about him that is eerily similar to all the other Patriot head assistant coaches that become head coaches. They get to a new organization, they start instilling that damn Patriot way, and again, when you don't have the credentials, when you don't have the hardware, when you don't have the wins to back up all of the shit that you're saying and the shit you're spewing out of your mouth, it starts to fall on deaf ears with veterans, especially around the league. And the brouhaha is fun. Everybody wants to talk about that. The players doing push-ups and running laps and coaches having to run laps and sending dudes to the showers and all kinds of shit. I want to talk about two players that are veterans in this league getting to New York, excited about an opportunity to be on another team and in camp, and then quickly reversing course once they get to New York and saying, you know what? I do not have time for this shit. I did not sign up for this shit. I quit. I'm retiring. I'd rather not play football than deal with this shit. This sounds a lot like what Matt Patricia had going on in Detroit. It sounds a lot like what first took place in Miami when Brian Flores took over. It sounds a lot like what always happens. Same thing happened with what's my man's name that's the offensive coordinator? Oh, shucks. The one that went to Denver as the offensive coordinator, went to Denver as a head coach, started getting rid of everybody, traded Jay Cutler, traded Brandon Marshall, just gutted that whole team and then left. Shit, can't think of his name. It's something. Anyway, everywhere that these Patriot assistants go and become head coaches, carnage follows because they're trying to instill this Patriot way. Josh McDaniels, I thought it was something. Thank you, Captain. Josh McDaniels did the same shit in Denver. Got rid of Cutler, got rid of Brandon Marshall, gutted that team, left them in disarray. Brian Flores, he actually looks like he's figuring some shit out in Miami. But when he first got there, nobody wanted to be a part. And he's like, cool, if you don't want to be here, I'll help you get out. That included Minka Fitzpatrick and a slew of other dudes that was like, this is some bullshit, I want out. And they traded every single one of them. Jay Ajayi, Jarvis Landry, the list goes, Kiko Alonso, the list goes on and on and on of guys that was like, get me the hell out of here now. Detroit, everybody and their mama was complaining about that shit that Matt Patricia was doing. Remember Golden Tate was like, look, man, I don't know what this shit we on right now, but get me the hell out of here. What's the safety for the Seattle Seahawks? Can't think of his name that got traded to the Seahawks from Detroit. He was one of the leaders on that Lions roster. He wasn't going for that shit Patricia was talking about. Shipped his ass off to Seattle for next to nothing. Literally a bag of bugles. This feels like that. You got Todd Davis as a linebacker, a veteran in this league. Gets to New York for about 2 days and says, you know what? Hey, I'm done. I'm going home. I'm going to take my ball. I'm going to go home. This is not for me. Joe Looney, center, was with the Cowboys last year. Veteran in this league. Gets to New York a day or two and realizes this is not what I'm used to. This is not what I signed up for. I'm going home. I retire. I don't think these are coincidences. I'm not saying. I'm just saying the fight in New York. I don't know. Guys could be on edge because of the way their building is set up. We heard players that have come from New England say, it's like you're walking on eggshells. Every day. Scared to make a mistake. Now, if you're built for that life, then you like that structure. Not everybody is built for that. Not everybody is used to that. And the difference in New England is all Belichick has to do is like Coach Red Bull you. You just got to go like this. Show them the hardware and then tell them, go ahead and do what I said to do. Go ahead, run it. Go ahead. I got these. Get out my face. Run it. Do what I tell you to do. No, don't ask any questions. Just do it. Can't do that in New York. Can't do that in Detroit. Can't do that in Miami. Can't do that in Denver. And all these other places where these coaches have gone from New England and try to be hard asses. I'm Quandre Diggs. Thank you guys. Captain Spartan, Malakui, all of y'all. Thank you. Quandre Diggs. I think Joe Judge is doing what he thinks is best. But I also think he's doing that same thing that these Patriot assistant coaches do. I think that Brian Flores has done a really good job of kind of putting his own sauce on it in Miami. But this feels real. It feels like it's turning. I was a big, and I'm still a fan of Joe Judge. But this feels like it's turning into a bit of a Matt Patricia type of environment. That's not healthy. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. In case you missed it, the Dallas Cowboys will be featured on Hard Knocks. I think you guys already know that. I think we've already talked about that. I'm not sure if we talked about it on the podcast or not. But that starts on August the 10th. So that's a week from yesterday. Are you guys going to watch? Are you interested? I've decided that I'm going to do a series on that. So directly after every episode, I'm going to jump on and we're going to discuss it live. I think that's what I want to do. I'll figure that out. Or maybe the day after I'll talk about it on the podcast. I think I just want to go ahead and knock it out right after it's over. But we'll see. I'll figure that out. I'll make sense of it, and then I'll decide what I want to do. But I'm fascinated by it. Obviously, they're in the division. A wise woman once told me, you keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. So I'm definitely interested in what the hell the Cowboys are doing. And I haven't watched Hard Knocks in a little while. I think I've taken like a 2-year hiatus from it. You know, the teams that have been up there haven't been all that interesting to me. So looking forward to getting back. I think the last one that I watched, start to finish, I believe was the Tampa Bay Bucks. How long ago was that? I don't know. I think I watched the Cleveland Browns too, but I think the Bucks were after the Browns. I could be wrong. Don't get me to line. I just know it's been a while. I haven't watched the last couple of them. I'm going to watch this one though. So we'll see what happens. In case you missed it, Panthers cut DB JT Ivy after hit on wide receiver Keith Kirkwood that required Kirkwood to be hauled off on a stretcher at Panthers practice yesterday. Practice was stopped because Kirkwood was down for an extended period of time. He was then whisked off to a local hospital where he had all movements. He had movement in all of his extremities, thank God. But safety, undrafted safety, I have to make sure I say that because I'm going to take a sharp detour off of the topic for a second. JT Ivy was then sent into the locker room and then promptly released after the hit, in which Panthers head coach, what's his? I'm forgetting everybody's name today. What's the coach from Baylor name? Oh shit, I really like Matt Rule. Said there's no place in this league for that, and not to one of your teammates. You don't do that to a teammate. And I got to thinking about that. First of all, I saw the hit. I think most of you have seen the hit by now. He didn't have to hit him. Kirkwood had already dropped the football. He was in a defenseless position. The hit didn't need to take place. I think we can all agree on that. Had his name been Jeremy Chin, is he released right now? I can answer that for you. No. Would he have even been sent in to the locker room early and banished from practice? That's debatable. Maybe. That's debatable. I said all of that to say this. Coaches love to make examples out of guys who don't matter. It's a tried and true method that stands the test of time. I remember a very wise man once telling me, if Troy Aikman was asleep in a meeting, I'd go over to him, I'd tap him on the shoulder, and I'd say, hey, Troy, wake up. Or, hey, Troy, do you need a pillow? But I also remember that same guy, after a loss at training camp, or after a loss, during the regular season, getting on a bus and firing and cutting a backup running back, who was goofing off. I also remember that same coach telling a kicker who said he had asthma, couldn't run, to head over to the asthma field. I say all of that to say this. We replace people who are replaceable. We make excuses or exceptions for those who are not. JT Ivy was replaceable. And he's the type of guy you are allowed to make a very stern example out of. We don't practice this way. We don't do this to our teammates. Had that been Jeremy Chin, we're not talking about a guy being released immediately after the hit. But it was an undrafted rookie so he can hit the bricks. Let this be a lesson to all of you out there. And this is in all walks of life. It's not just limited to football or sports in general. This is all walks of life. You can make demands, you can talk that shit when you're one of those people at your job. You're that good, you're allowed to maybe color outside the lines a little bit and get away with it. But if you're not, don't be that guy. Okay? Don't be that person. Because they will show your ass the door. Promptly. Unfortunately, he had to find that out the hard way. In case you missed it, Vikings released former 2020 first-round cornerback Jeff Gladney after Gladney was indicted on a felony domestic violence charge. Ouch. So the report goes as follows. Girlfriend or ex-girlfriend reports that Gladney beat her for over 2 hours with an open fist and a closed one. Choked her. And then after it was done, tried to bribe her with a necklace and a spa card. If that doesn't say I'm broke as hell and I don't have any bread, but I'm still trying to make it right, I don't know what does. First of all, what kind of a bribe is that if that did take place? And I'm not looking to make light of this situation. I'm really not. But that's a bullshit ass bribe. You deserve to be told on, okay? If you did some shit to me that I thought was out of line, and the best you could do was a $1,000 necklace and a gift card to my local spa for a spa day, I'm going to tell on your ass promptly. I'm picking up my phone immediately. No, not immediately. Immediately. And I'm calling the local authorities. Just because I'm insulted by you thinking that that was enough. But seriously, in all jokes aside, if this is true, and we don't know that it's true, and his agent has come out and he's really blasted the Vikings. He essentially said, I'm so glad we live in a country where the accused are innocent until proven guilty. Unfortunately, the Minnesota Vikings don't see it the same way. And they're allowed to do that. They work for they are a private institution, are the Minnesota Vikings. First sight of trouble, they have the right to say, we don't know if this is true or not. We're not taking any chances. Again, I hearken back to what we just spoke about. Jeff Gladney just got here. He's not good enough to be making missteps like this. I guarantee you, if his name was Danielle Hunter, he might be suspended. He's not cut right now. But he's Jeff Gladney. And the Vikings are like, we will gladly get rid of your ass and promote one of these other young corners that we have. We have no problems doing that. Even if you're innocent, this looks bad right now. So we're going to move on. And hopefully you are able to work that situation out. But what you're not going to do is drag us through the mud while you're working it out. What people don't want, it's funny when I talk to my buddy. When a player does something wrong and they no longer play for his team, he hates the fact that they say ex Las Vegas Raider fill in the blank, convicted of fill in the blank. He's like, I don't want to be associated with that guy. He doesn't play for us anymore. Leave us out of this. And the Minnesota Vikings are like, we don't want people saying Minnesota Vikings cornerback Jeff Gladney indicted on felony assault or domestic assault charges. They wanted to say just Jeff Gladney, they're probably going to still say ex-Minnesota Viking. But more likely than not, especially if it's not a sports outlet, they're going to say ex-NFL player. And that's the Vikings saying that's how we want it. Keep our name out of the shit. We don't want to be associated with this guy in any way, shape, or form. It's a shame because they spent the first round pick. Nobody wants to get rid of a first round pick after 1 year of service. But in back-to-back years, we've seen two teams have to get rid of cornerbacks from their first round draft the year prior. Giants had to do it last year with DeAndre Baker, and now the Vikings have to do it this year with Jeff Gladney. You have no idea who you're drafting a lot of these times. You don't know what guys are doing in their off time. You don't know if they're out there shooting dice, going to somebody's house and looking to rob them, or they smacking around a significant other behind closed doors. You have no idea. But it's your job as an organization to do the legwork to find out what kind of an individual you're about to spend a draft pick on. And again, I'm not faulting the Vikings for this. But that's rough. That is rough. When you spend a first round pick on a guy and he's not even there the following training camp. That's rough. Speaking of the Vikings, they had an outbreak of COVID in their quarterback room and don't have any of their quarterbacks to run practice, to which Mike Zimmer was pissed and pretty much laid the gauntlet down on COVID, saying everybody needs to get vaccinated so we can just get rid of this shit. It's not happening, Mike. But I know where you're coming from because you had to deal with this. Just be fortunate you had to deal with this now and not during the regular season. That's the way I look at it. In any event, I digress. In case you missed it, Browns running back Nick Chubb received a well-deserved 3-year, $36.6 million extension. Good for one of the best running backs in all of football. And the thing I love about this extension, $20 million of it guaranteed, is it's only 3 years. It's not 4 or 5. It doesn't lock him up. He can turn around and get broken off again 3 years from now when he's getting towards the end of that contract. Let me see how old he is. I think Chubb, he can't be any more than 25 right now. Let's check out Nick Chubb. See how old he is. I think he's going to probably be 28 at the end of this thing. Nick Chubb is 25. I hit it right on the head. His birthday is in December. So he'll be 28 when this extension is up. Now, he'll still have a year left on his deal, so he won't be a free agent. But, you know, if he's still playing at the level he's playing at now, he may want to remain in Cleveland. If not, then, you know, at the end of that contract, the length of that contract, he'll be 29. He'll still be able to parlay that into another small deal somewhere. So I like the fact that he doesn't lock himself into age 30 or something like that, where there is no more money really out there for him. You know, if he stays relatively healthy, I like the fact that he's in a two-headed monster backfield where he shouldn't be taking on the bulk load of carries himself. So it keeps some of that tread on the tires. I love this deal for him. I actually think he should have gotten more. I think this is a good deal for him, but I think it's an even better deal for the Browns. But when you're not making any real bread, I'm signing this deal if I'm Chubb. You know, I'm taking the $20 million up front. I don't know what's going to happen. Remember, this is the same guy that tore his knee to shreds at Georgia. You don't know what's going to happen in the upcoming season. You take this money, you run with it, and you hope that everything goes well, and there'll be another contract waiting for you at the end of this one. So he's put himself in a position to double dip, essentially, is what I feel he's done here. And it's not a bad deal for him. $20 million guaranteed. Not a bad deal for him at all. So that's in case you missed it. Let's finish up this show with garbage time. We talked about the Indianapolis Colts to start this show off. And I think I have a super chat. So I want to take this real quick. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Kevin the PRF. writes, so who are the Giants locker room leaders? Even our young team, but thinking on the Giants roster, all their key personnel are young or new. I mean, yeah. When you've got a team full of young players or guys that just got there, you can run into who are my leaders. But I think there are enough veterans on that team. Like, I know he just got there last year, but Blake Martinez is probably a guy that I'd like to think is a leader on that team. I'm pretty sure they've got, a couple of guys that have been there quite a while that I'm not thinking of. I'm trying to run through the list of their positions in my head. There aren't many guys that have been there a long time. They've moved on from most of those guys. There's a lot of turnover on that roster over the last 3 years or so. Gettleman's been extremely busy in turning over the offensive and defensive lines. Linebacker is relatively new. The secondary is pretty much all brand new. And then you go to the offensive side. I just talked about the offensive line being pretty much brand new. There's a lot of young guys with either 2 or 3 years of experience max. Nate Solder is probably the longest tenured NFL player on the roster itself, minus the punter or kicker. I don't know who the punter or kickers are. I know Aldrich Rosas at one time was their place kicker, but I don't know if he's still there or not. Yeah, they got a young team, man. Just thinking about it, they got a really young team. So I don't know who the leaders are on that team, but that's when you want those guys to step in and police each other and not allow things to get out of hand. But that, you see fights like that crop up when it's not a close-knit group. And look, you get dust-ups in every training camp. Tempers flare, it's hot outside. If you've ever played football, and you've gone through a training camp, man, it's hot as shit outside. You going at it, you going against each other. Things get physical, things get said. You feel like somebody was a little bit too aggressive with you, or you feel like somebody was, doing a little too much after the whistle, or whatever the case may be. And then shit gets a little personal, gets a little physical. So these things happen, but usually one or two guys get involved and then cooler heads prevail. Like literally, positional groups, little cliques started to form. Like, you ain't gonna touch my corner. Here comes a safety, and get off of my corners. And now, then the offensive line like, get off of my guard. And like, you got guys sticking up for one another, but they're not thinking about the whole team aspect. And that usually comes from, I don't know y'all. You just got here. Literally, you're a draft pick. You're a free agent signing that just got here 3 months ago. I don't know you. I know these dudes that I'm in meetings with every day. I know them. I don't know you. So I'm more likely to take up for him than I am to say, hey, y'all, stop. So I don't know who their leaders are. They got a lot of young guys on their football team. They probably got enough veterans in there sprinkled in amongst the group that I'm not privy to because I don't know their roster in and out. But I'm pretty sure there are a couple of veterans in there. Like I said, Nate Solder is one of those guys who's been in the league quite some time. But normally there are a couple of dudes long in the tooth that you say, these are the kind of veterans you lean on. They don't have a lot of those dudes. Like I said, Blake Martinez is one of those guys. Obviously, Logan Ryan's been in the league a long time. He just got there last year, He just got there last year. So it's dicey, but I think they got enough guys in there to kind of straighten things out. With that said, got another super chat. 2 of them, actually. This first one is from Gunnyman. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Gunnyman, who writes, D-Block. Yeah, D-Block is right. They definitely locked up Dipset last night. From what I heard, again, I didn't see it. But thank you for the super chat, Gunnyman. Captain Spartan 04, my guy Cap, writes, first of all, thank you for the super chat, Captain Spartan. Greatly appreciate you. He writes, watch Haskins ball out of nowhere tomorrow. I think Washington fans will be somewhat interested in that game just to see how Haskins plays. Because that's what ex-mates do. When you feel like someone scorned you, you secretly keep tabs on them, a lot of times wishing for their demise. But in the case of a lot of fans, they're like, hey, we wish him nothing but the best. It just didn't work here. But there are going to be a lot of fans like, F him. I hope he doesn't go there and play well. And then there are some people that are rooting for him, think we made a mistake, we shouldn't have got rid of him, and that this guy can play ball and he's going to prove it in Pittsburgh, just needed more stability than this organization could offer him. I think there's a lot of immaturity there with him, but we'll see what he does tomorrow. I'm definitely interested in seeing him throughout the preseason. I don't know if I'll necessarily be eyeballing him in that Hall of Fame game, but I'll definitely be keeping tabs on Haskins in the preseason and see what he looks like. But I'm not a big Dwayne Haskins fan, so we'll see what happens. We talked about the Indianapolis Colts to start the show, and I found this interesting as I was perusing through a number of different articles preparing for the show, and I saw this on socials yesterday, and I said that's going to make a hell of a topic. Philly Rivers, a.k.a. Philly Rivers, a.k.a. Phillip Rivers, a.k.a. Gimme Mo Kids, says that leaving the door open for a return isn't out of the question. That he hasn't shut the door completely on a return to the NFL. He's focused on his high school team. For those of you not in the know, he's coaching high school football right now. And he's focused on his team. But if a team that is contending should call him late in the season, he would be open to returning to the NFL. I started to think about the Indianapolis Colts situation with Carson Wentz. Obviously, it's not for the season, so I don't think bringing Phillip Rivers back makes a ton of sense. But if it were for the season, that would probably have been the first call I would have made as the Colts GM. If I'm Chris Ballard, I'm picking up the phone, I'm calling Phillip Rivers and saying, you sure you don't want to play? But it speaks to a larger point, though, which is these NFL players, and this isn't uncommon with NFL players and boxers in particular. I feel like these two sports in particular are the ones where it's just tough for these guys to let it go. With basketball, when a guy says, yeah, this is it, I'm going on my world tour, my farewell tour, even in baseball, when a guy says that, they usually stick to it. You know, when Mariano Rivera was like, this is it, this is my last year, and everybody was giving him all these gifts. When Duncan was like, yeah, this is it. When Dirk was like, yeah, this is it. When Kobe was like, yeah, this is it. And everybody was giving him all these tributes at every different stadium that they went to, an arena. They were at peace with their decision, like, this is it. I got nothing else to give. I'm done after this. There was no waffling with those guys. In football, we like Ben Roethlisberger, we all assumed this is it, right? It's your last year, you're restructuring, one last ride. All of your homeboys are slowly going and fading to black and riding off into the sunset. This is it for you, right? And I kept saying to myself, have y'all checked Ben's rap sheet? Have you checked his resume? Ben's one of the biggest wafflers out there in the business. Has Ben told you guys that this was it? Because I don't recollect hearing him say, I'm done after this season. I just remember all of us assuming that this was it because of his contract and this being the last year. I don't recall Ben ever saying, yeah, this is it for me. I'm done. And now I'm hearing their owner say, hey, nobody's closing the door on Ben. As if to say, hey, door's still wide open. Who knows what'll happen next year? Ben ass ain't going nowhere. He'll be back next year. Hey, how many times did we say, hey, is this it for Drew Brees? And then Drew Brees comes back, I'll sign another year. What the hell? Hell, we weren't even sure this offseason. Drew was out here pushing sleds and shit. I'm like, Hey, y'all sure this dude about to retire? He still ain't said he was done yet. But he ultimately hung it up. Finally. Larry Fitzgerald still doesn't know what the hell he wants to do. Hasn't made a formal announcement yet. I think we know he's going to hang it up, but he still hasn't closed the door on coming back. He might be just trying to get out of training camp. Like, you know what? I'd love to play. I just don't want to do the training camp shit. Brett Favre retires and unretires. I still think Andrew Luck is going to bring his ass back at some point. I don't think he's quite done with football. There's something about boxing. There's something about football. These sports with these physical, that are physical in nature. There's something about these sports in particular where guys just can't walk away. And we see this every year with guys that are retiring. We get to this point of the offseason where they start to smell the grass and their body says, their internal clock says, we should be out there. We've done this for the last 30 years of our lives. We're supposed to be out there. What are we doing right now? He's quelling that a bit because he's coaching football. So he's still getting a little bit of that itch scratched. But it's not like him normally being out there around the fellas on the field, in the huddle. It's not the same. And that's where you get that jonesing. That's when you realize, oh shit, I really do miss this. You're fine in April, in March. You're fine in May, in June. But as late July hits, you start to get that itch. And as you get into August, you're like, I could help a team. It's tough, man. Especially when you've been doing something for so long. It's tough. I don't think we've seen the last of Phillip Rivers. And the crazy part is, he left last year. There was still football left. That guy led the Colts to the playoffs, and I thought he played his ass off in that playoff game on the road against the Bills. I was shocked when he retired. But we knew he was going to retire because reports had already come out before that game that Phillip Rivers was leaning towards retirement at the end of this Colts season. However it ended, Super Bowl or not. So while I was somewhat surprised because I'm like, this guy can still play, he had enough. Maybe he hasn't. He thought he did, but maybe he hasn't had enough. I don't know. We'll see. I just find it interesting. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, as we end the 185th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. That was a fun episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Feels good to be back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Feels good. Feels good. Feels good. Did you miss me? I know you did. I can answer that for you. I know you did. I missed you guys. So, we'll be back on Friday to chop it up. Thursday, we've got Hall of Fame game. We'll talk about that on Friday's show. Washington fans out there, we will be live. We'll push it back to 9:30 to respect the Hall of Fame game, at least the first half of it. And then we'll be live at 9:30 and we'll talk all things Washington football team. Looking forward to doing that as well. Should be a ton of fun. So many topics to discuss. So, man, football season is here. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? It is here. Yeah, I can feel it, man. I can feel it. I can feel it. It is here. Whew. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, man. I thank you guys for joining me here on the Louie T Network podcast. One more time before we leave, make sure that you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Only 58 likes. There were just 100 of you out there. There are 90 of you now. We should be at 70 likes. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on, mods. You should be encouraging them to hit the like button. Do your job. But seriously, I appreciate you mods out there. Greatly appreciate you guys. With that said, I'm going to glide to the side. Remember, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow, if you're a Washington fan, Friday, if you are tuning into the podcast, and I'm about to upload a new card video to the CCS, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned for that as well. Until next time, peace.